you hear people talk about their proteins, fats, and carbs, or their macro, right? Macronutrients. So we're just talking about our proteins, fats. So when we think about, and this is going to be more interactive, like I said. So when we think about protein sources, blurt out some protein sources that we believe to be good sources of protein for us that we're getting in our daily diets right now. Some protein sources that we got. Chicken, steak, ground turkey, salmon, some fish. So we got our carbohydrates. Let's think about our vegetarian people. What are they possibly getting in for?
Tofu.
Some spinach is going to have some moderate amounts of protein. If they're trying to really consume a lot of protein from spinach, they're possibly going to have some gut issues. So we got to think about how things are going to be breaking down in our gut, right? So actually, let's bounce back real quick and let's get into why we eat and what is nutrition for. Nutrition is for the process of rehabilitating our body for the most part and fueling us. So we always associate our bodies as a vehicle. We have to have gas in our vehicle, so it's our fuel source to get through our daily functions, to be able to make sure that we can have adequate activity and calories burned and lost, all right? So who here gets 8 hours of sleep? 9? About 2 less right now? 7? 6? 6 hours? 5? 4? 3? 2? Once in a blue. Hopefully nobody's just sleeping 1 hour. But I was discussing with Nietzsche earlier today and just going over my own studies and things that I've read and watched. And understanding that sleep is number one, right? So if we're not getting the proper amounts of sleep, then all of the nutrition in the world is probably going to go a lot out the window. So we can be eating super healthy, but if we're not balancing it with proper sleep, then we're fighting an uphill battle that we don't need to. And I say that because when we lose sleep, we lose the potential of losing weight because our circadian rhythms help control and balance our hormonal releases, right? So if we're not getting the proper sleep, hormones aren't being released properly, then we don't have receptor sites for the nutrients that we're taking in, right? So your body is like a well-oiled machine, but it's a lock and key theory. And when I say that, you can have a lock, but not have the proper key, and or vice versa. I can have a key with not the proper lock. So if I'm taking in all of the protein in the world, but yet my insulin hormone isn't being released properly because I'm deficient in vitamin D, because I'm not getting adequate sleep and or getting out and getting some sunshine and or ingesting vitamin D, right? Then insulin is going to start having a hard time to break down. And if we're receiving and holding in a lot of insulin being the molecule that helps break down our sugar, if we're resistant to it, then what are we going to start retaining? A lot of sugar and carbohydrates, and we're going to start storing a lot more fat, right? So it all starts with what? Sleep. So if we're not getting adequate sleep, vitamin D is going to be deficient, insulin release is going to be deficient, which means we're going to be retaining more carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, if we're not having them be used and dispersed throughout our body and enter the muscle cell and need to be broken down and enter that body, then we're going to start retaining those carbohydrates and holding them and storing them as fat. It's going to be harder to have a higher metabolism. Why? Because we have higher fat counts. We have less lean muscle tissue. So if we're not going to figure out how to get more sleep, we got to figure out how we can nap throughout our day. Right? Take proper naps. And a nap is said to be, in sleep studies, a nap is said to be a nice controlled sleep of 20 minutes. Not in the middle of the day are you taking a 3-hour sleep session. You know what I'm saying? 20 minutes. Do not dive too deep into a trance that your circadian rhythms start to pick up again, because if we're sleeping during the day, we're throwing off the balance of our body and our body's natural response to sunlight. Right? Sunlight is a stimulator. It's going to cause cortisol levels to be released, not melatonin to be released, right? We all have seen people take melatonin drops or tablets or pills to try to get themselves to be able to sleep more frequently or more controlled at night. Okay, so if we're not having hormone releases because we're not getting enough sleep, our cortisol levels are going to be high. You guys ever see the commercials of like how to burn belly fat? Cortisol levels are in your belly, right? So if these cortisol levels, these natural stressors that our bodies have, these hormones that are being released, if we're causing that to occur more because we're sleeping during the day and the sun touching our body or any light touching our body is going to increase our cortisol levels, then our circadian rhythms are going to be off again, and now we're going to have fat retention again. So let's not be sleeping during our day too much, unless you're somebody like C, for instance, right? But he's always in a battle. So Nitra's husband works the night shift. So he's always going to be in this uphill battle to try to lose weight, even though he's genetically gifted and he crushes it in the gym. His age plus his circadian rhythm being thrown off because he's not getting to bed before 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So now just naturally, biologically, our bodies are supposed to be resting anywhere from 10 to 7 a.m., right? Anything before midnight is going to be just healthier for you, right? Because you can get into a deep REM sleep, your body can completely relax, we can have full amounts of recovery that are going down because the nutrients that we've been taking in from our diet are now able to come in and repair the muscles. We can come in and repair the muscles, and now we're able to train longer, train better, train more effectively, and get the results that we want to have before we go into the gym the next day. But somebody that has to sleep overnight, work overnight, they just have to try to balance it as best as possible. Still trying to have a super, super, super pitch black room so that they're not getting those doses of cortisol levels and that sunlight touching them. So if you can get into a room where it's pitch black, if you have to sleep during the day, even a little red light, so when I was at the SEAL teams, we would have a strength and conditioning coach come and have these same type of seminars, man. I've been through a lot of different seminars, and he would make us on our travel trips, he wouldn't make us, but he would tell us to put a piece of tape over the red laser that's going on. Even that little bit of light touching my skin throughout, it's like having light therapy. Some countries, some places like a Seattle or Alaska where they don't get a lot of sunlight, they have treatment centers that are for people like that light therapy. So if light can cause you to be stimulated and wake up, right? So then that even just that little bit of light, the little red dot, if it's touching you, it can be activating cortisol levels, not allowing your melatonin to be released at night, not allowing your body to get a full night's rest. Waking up still feeling tired, right? Who here has sleep apnea? Do you use your CPAP machine on a regular basis? Do you recall how you felt before using a CPAP versus now after using a CPAP? Life difference, right? So that's another big thing, right? And we used to talk about this about 3 or 4 years ago when we met, about how, like, I wish I could borrow your CPAP sometimes just to ensure that I'm getting a full night's rest. Right? Right? So just making sure that you guys are getting a full night's sleep. And do we all know what sleep apnea is? So no, so right, so
okay. So do you snore loud enough that if we close the door, someone can hear you from next door?
No.
You don't have sleep apnea.
It's not just the snoring.
There's a snoring aspect to it. There's the size of your coat aspect to it. There is
Stop breathing.
Stop breathing.
Yeah, your breathing can stop. So depending on how long your breathing is stopping in the middle of the night, is going to cause you to not be getting full oxygen throughout disbursement throughout your body and throughout your brain. So now,
what they do is they test how often per hour.
Per hour, yep. So how many breaths and how much oxygen you're able to consume in that hour. But things like that are going to cause your sleep to digress if you're not getting proper sleep. Again, that's going to be associated with not being able to, the loss of sleep is going to be the degradation of fat loss, right? So if we're not getting adequate sleep, we're not going to be able to lose the right amount of fat. So let's just always start there. And even myself, the older that I'm getting, I have to try to get more sleep because I'm fighting against this age curve as well, where a lot of minerals and nutrients are going to be just getting diminished and hormone releases are going to be starting to get tarnished a little bit. So if I'm not adding to the factor of like, I need more vitamin D in my body. Most of us are vitamin D deficient. I know when I first started programming for people, I would implement a lot of vitamin D just because most of us are deficient in it. One, either people that live up north aren't seeing as much sunlight as us just in general. Two, you're just not getting it in your food items as much as you need to be. So then we are going to be deficient. Sedentary people, they're supposed to be getting 8,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. So when you start looking at little micronutrients, these are our micronutrients. Our vitamins and minerals are things that are going to be the cattle stones. So always think, that's why I program some of the meal plans the way that I do, is really focusing on a lot of micronutrients. So like we eat the... All right, so when we hear something, or if you ever heard that terminology, nutrient dense, I look at two foods being highly nutrient dense: beef and sweet potatoes. They offer an abundance of vitamins, minerals, plus your macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, right? You can kind of live off of those two things and get a lot of your vitamin, your iron, your proteins, your vitamin E, K from the sweet potato and or the red meat. So they're a real big survival food that you can. The reason we put a lot of rice on your meal plans is because it's easily digestible. It's a lot easier to digest the rice as opposed to if I'm putting hard amounts of sweet potatoes on you guys' meal plans. Your belly is going to feel like this. You already are having to consume a lot of food plus a lot of water, so now you're just walking around with this distended belly. Well, at least the rice can be dissolved and broken down at a lot faster rate. And if we're definitely training on the prep, then we're burning those calories anyway. It said that an athlete at the rate that you guys are doing right now in training, we should be having 200 grams of carbs almost every other hour. 200 grams of carbs every other hour from the time you start training until the time you go to bed. We could be having that if it's not causing you more fatigue. Right? So just understanding kind of why we have certain things, that's what I want to pose the question on now. So like more so questions that you guys have. So my members of the month, what questions did y'all come here with today? Did y'all have any? That you specifically were like, I'm just been struggling with this, or?
No, yeah, you answered my question the other day on the proteins.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what was your question? Because maybe somebody else has that question.
The question was that in our diet, in our meal plan, why are we eating potatoes instead of sweet potatoes? You hear in every website that sweet potato is healthier than potatoes.
Yep. So the answer for her was, and we kind of went over this, me, Jim, and Mo yesterday as well, with just timing, man. I kind of look at timing and when I introduce those meals and the sweet potatoes to you guys, and when it's going to be able to be broken down. The conversation about sweet potatoes and brown rice versus white potatoes and white rice, right? And it's like, for white rice and brown rice, yes, can brown rice be healthier? 100%. It's not bleached, doesn't have the additives. But right now we're seeing a spike in allergies in people's guts from gluten, and all is the disparity of how healthy the wheat is for you better than the potential of the white rice being somewhat not as healthy for you, but you're not going to deal with the same gut issue. And if we understand that 70% of our immune system comes from our gut, and not being inflamed because of bloatedness, because of foods that are going to irritate it, then I'm going to possibly side with the white rice. Is it something that we can trial and error? Potentially. But also, what kind of training status are you in? Are you in a training status, or are you in a training status that's very high volume, that you're going to use up that sugar anyway, and it's not going to sit on your body and then start to create more fat? You know, or even if you are in a heavy training status, then you can still afford that. But for you guys, not right now. For me, and where we're going in our journey, what I want you guys to be having it, it's not worth it right now. And I don't think that the white is that harmful for you guys at this time in our journey that we're going through.
The white potatoes get a bad rap because of French fries. See, that's a different conversation, but for you all, I'm sure white potatoes are more liver friendly. It's a starch in white potatoes that sweet potatoes don't have. Remember, they're called sweet potatoes, but they're not really potatoes. And it's completely different starch. And so people can get white potatoes to their body so much faster that you can move it. But they get such a bad rap because you hear about diabetes. No, that's because people eat French fries. It's fat that is the problem, not potatoes. Yeah. Remember, potatoes could get you to a famine. You can live on potatoes.
Potatoes, that's what I'm
it.
saying.
You can
Like,
eat them every day
live
and live.
on potatoes, and so trying to take a lot of things with a grain of salt that you hear, and then do your own due diligence about how to find out the right way and who to ask for, and you know, you hear certain things that are out there, and then it's just like, I don't necessarily take them in right there. I hear it, let me see, if it doesn't make any sense to me, I'm going to bounce it off of Mo, Nitra, we'll talk about these type of situations, and then if it don't make sense to any of us, then like, let me go look at a journal, a science journal that's, you know, a little bit more extensive on what's going on with it. But yeah, that one is like one of the most irritating ones that that you hear is like cutting this out, or don't eat white rice anymore, don't eat white potatoes anymore. Like, why? A potato is natural. Like, it came out the earth. It can't be that bad as in comparison to a lot of other things that we're doing right now.
Yeah. There's only a small percentage of people who are dairy resistant that they really don't need white potatoes, but it's a minuscule amount of people in the world.
If you have
minuscule
kidney failure,
yes, dialysis
patients shouldn't be, but like if we're not on that dialysis aspect,
it's different.
We're probably pretty okay to knock out a potato or two. And who else got questions? What's up, Liz?
You were mentioning like the importance of micronutrients and stuff. Is there any supplements that you recommend that like everybody should take, or like some base level supplements that you think are necessary?
Vitamin D. Vitamin D would be one, just because I know it's hard to get. Sometimes it might be hard to get the right dosage from all the food. From the food, right? Like if we're trying to get it, cola is really well in the eggs. So if we can get some vitamin D eggs, but some people have dairy issues, you know what I'm saying? So if the eggs are causing you to have gut problems, then you might not be able to get it all from that. So like supplementation, I'm not the biggest fan of, but in certain aspects, I would say, if you're struggling with it, let's introduce a supplement for vitamin D to see how we can balance it off, and still trying to introduce foods that are going to be heavily dominant in it. And that's why we try to get the ground beef in there and help out with that, because it's very nutrient dense and will give you allocate some vitamin D within that ground beef. But you know, we go through, and I think I sent it in the in our Discord for the summer prep, but it's like, it's really like what C.T. Fletcher said, like, oh, I don't like this. Like, you're not dieting for what it takes, you're dieting for the results, right? Like what it does for your body. So like, yes, I didn't eat beef from 2002 until 2019. Watched this study, looked at this guy, loved what he was giving out on how dense it is and what it can do for me. I was like, I'm gonna take my chances with it. I still lean off of it. Nature ran me through a whole plant-based diet at the end of the year. I'm not just going to hard body it all the time, but if you're going to tell me that it can help me performance-wise, I think that everybody in life should be thinking in their head as an athlete, right? Like, let's try to make sure, because an athlete needs to move kinetically. Like, we have to have a kinetic change throughout our daily existence, or we're not going to be able to do anything, right? Like, if I can't get up out this seat, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I can't move and start taking walks, and I gotta use things to start helping me, aiding me get across the room, then I'm out the game almost, right? So if we're thinking as if we're athletes and like, I'm gonna have to be able to walk, run, jump in life, and I want to do that for eternity, my entire existence. If I'm 90 years old and I can walk, run, and jump, I've crushed life. So if I'm making movements and training effectively like that, I think that that's a good thing, and just making sure that I am getting in the right micros, and then I'm willing to take on foods that I don't necessarily like to eat. You guys have seen me always get back to wrap up like I drink eggs. I don't like eggs, but I know what they do for me. I need those micros from them. It's not even about the protein from an egg. You know what I'm saying? It's about so many of the micronutrients that a full egg, not egg whites. Yeah. An entire egg. Why are we stripping this micronutrient down into something even more micro than what we can get from it already? The theory and the adage that it's going to heighten your cholesterol is a theory that's kind of being kicked away, just like ice can prevent inflammation during an ankle sprain. Like, it's kind of getting on that theory of like, it's not true. It's not true. I put a lot of people on a decent amount of eggs, 2 to 3 eggs a day, sometimes 4 here, and everybody that I've done it with, their cholesterol has decreased. Their LDLs have decreased. Their HDLs have increased. So high and low, then shit has changed. So I can't really agree that eggs are bad for you still, like people were saying in the 80s and 90s, right? So that's one too. I'm just willing to eat and change my diet based on what I'm trying to change my. What's up, Bob?
Something that I would think is like vitamin B.
Vitamin
It's
B, yes,
B,
yeah, I
that's
forgot.
it.
Vitamin
People
B.
who don't eat enough protein,
Yes.
the majority of people don't, and you struggle.
Yep.
B.
Vitamin B and vitamin D, you'll see a lot of people deficient on, and that vitamin B is going to do what? It's going to help you with a lot of energy, right? B12. So you see a lot of people that are going to be, and you need that again with the absorption of insulin things too. So like if you're deficient in vitamin B, then your resistance to insulin is going to be around in that place too. So like, then you're not able to put on the muscle mass because you're deficient in vitamin B. You're not getting enough protein sources. So that's a major one. Yeah. So those two, right? I don't think anything else that I really have you supplementing. Now, if you're like, I just don't like, if you're somebody who doesn't eat red meat at all, or you're a vegan, and you're trying to put on some size or get stronger, I may introduce creatine, maybe. All depends, because you're not going to get it from, yeah, like something, but nothing too crazy like that. And we'll talk about aminos and all of that too, because I seen Jocelyn have some aminos here as well. And I made a post about aminos before not too long ago. But Pops, what was your question?
2 questions.
Mhm.
You're talking about vitamin D. You have different vitamin D. You have the D1, D3, whatever.
D3.
It's the same thing. It's the
I
same
would
thing.
get D3.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Second question is, when we're talking about oils, okay, to cook our food, you know,
Mm-hmm.
olive oil, avocado oil, canola oil.
We'll never cook with canola oil.
Yeah,
It wreaks
yeah,
havoc
yeah.
on the gut.
Mhm.
My God.
Okay.
It's Canadian oil. It's not even a real
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
It's
So-
it got shortened from Canadian oil. That's it. It's not any plant-based anything. Like it's a
So-
combination guard of like a whole bunch of different oils.
Okay. And the reason why I asked.
And most restaurants cook with it, so when you go out,
Uh-huh.
just be prepared that your gut is probably going to get tiptoed on and
You can,
tap danced on and a little bit more. So take that nice little walk afterwards and try to help that food get digested a little bit better.
because we normally use the olive oil
Mm-hmm.
or the avocado oil.
So right now, avocado oil has a higher burning threshold, so that one is a pretty solid one. It doesn't turn the fat over into the triglycerides as soon. You just got to know what temperature to cook and how long you're cooking your oils at, especially the olive oil. Like it's very known that everybody's been using olive oil for about the last 10 years, but its burn threshold is relatively low, so then it starts to turn that fat into a bad fat. It cooks off all of the healthy ones, so just don't try to let that burn too long.
But
and
for
you can't-
salads, it's okay.
Say again?
For salads, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's a good. Okay.
Yo. What else? Is that it for that one?
Yeah, for that one.
Anybody else? Who has issues with anything? I mean, you guys on that program, on your prep program, any questions, comments, concerns on that?
I asked the question the other day about after the exercise, you feel the day after that you feel pain.
Thumbs, delayed onset muscle soreness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just having that, man, that's going to be somewhat of just a tail of the tape from training, right? What are we doing when we come into the gym? We're breaking down muscle fibers. That's why it's so critical to get the rest so that the body has time to repair, get the nutrients in so that the body has something to repair with, right? So just because you take your car to the shop, if you don't have the money to get it fixed, it's just sitting at the fucking shop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta have the money to get the car fixed as well. So the money is the nutrients, right? Getting the car, getting into the shop is the rest. It's gonna chill, it's gonna hang out, right? But if I'm not properly putting the right things in it, then what the hell is it all for? If I'm coming to the gym, getting 8 hours of sleep, but I'm eating Chick-fil-A every day, something isn't gonna go right, right? Like if we start understanding how plaque buildup starts to occur, or what sugar does. I always like to give this analogy of like how sugar tears apart your body, right? So if you're eating, think of sugar as crystals, glass, broken glass, right? Broken glass. You just ate. You poured all of this broken glass down your stomach, and now it's going through your bloodstream. It's in your bloodstream now, and it's just cutting away at all your veins and arteries, right? Your arteries, and it's leaving little abrasions on it. It's leaving little abrasions on it, and then after you drink all of that sugar in your Coca-Cola, you ate your Chick-fil-A sandwich that was just bombed with a whole bunch of fat. So now the fat came through. It's like, oh shit, I got somewhere to hang out at. You left all of these little lacerations. Let me just go build up a little bit of a barrier so that like I can fill these holes in. It's just like being on I-4 and they got the little fillings right all over the road from the little holes, the potholes and shit. And now you just keep doing that, keep doing it. And now those potholes just keep getting thicker and thicker, and then it's just making the walls of your arteries and veins just smaller and smaller and smaller, and now we have hardness in it, right? What you say? Then we have a heart attack coming up on us, because why? Because now our blood vessel went from being like this, nice and clear, to now it looks like this. It didn't actually start shrinking, it just had all of this buildup, plaque buildup starting to occur. Now blood isn't able to go through and get pushed through the heart, and now it's like, boom, boom, your heart is pumping so fucking fast all day just to get little squirts through, and now it's just like, you know what, I give up. Something is going to go wrong on the back end. One of your valves in your heart is going to start getting weaker because it's not having an adequate amount of fill up and happening. So now we're going to start having backflow, and now we have an aortic valve problem, and it just becomes a whole shit show, all because we wanted to just line our bodies up with these high amounts of sugar, you know, and then we start to cause insulin resistance, and that's why people are type 2 diabetes. We load up our bodies with all of this sugar. Our body can't throw out enough insulin to even break it down. It's like, what the hell is going on? I can't even regulate all of this. It just gets up and it's like, fuck it, we'll just let your blood sugar be high. I have no other chances with it. You're loading me in entirely too much on a regular basis. I can't even break down this. So those are the issues that you guys are going to see with those things, and I just wish that people could kind of take that in and understand, like, when you make that decision, understanding that your decision of what you eat today could be your last meal. Like, it can be that serious for certain individuals. Like, what you eating today could be the last bit of fat that your body could handle before your heart is like, I get the fuck up. And what we don't have is an x-ray machine on our phone to be able to show us like, ooh, it's getting kind of close. Shit just happens. You know what I'm saying? You could be walking at Disney and think that everything's good. You have that hot dog at Disney, and that's the fucking hot dog. When you go up on that roller coaster to spin you around, it's done. Like, just really putting those things into perspective like that. And I think if we did, or if we did have this x-ray machine to see how close we were, I think we would be a little bit more respectful of our body. I always think of the exhaust or whatever. So like in our houses, we can look at our filter and see how built up it is, and you're like, shit, I need to fucking clean it. But how often do we do that to ourselves for our liver, right? If our liver is our filter, how often are we thinking like, ooh, I've probably been doing some shit and some stuff, let me go ahead and try to clean it up? Or do we just keep living the same crazy life that we're doing and just crushing our liver? That's not allowed to do anything for us positively anymore. Now we have a fatty liver, so now it's working against us. It's not going to filter out all of the bad toxins. Now where are those toxins going? They're going into our bloodstream because it has no filtration system now. So if we can just taper back at least from the negative things that we do with our nutrition and diet, enhance our sleep. It's such a simple game, to be completely honest, and we were talking about it this morning. It's just like how simplistic it can be if you just take advantage of small things like get the bed right. Really focus on that. Really focus on staying true to your habits, like creating a habit. Creating a habit of, I wake up at this time, I go to bed at this time. I wake up at this time, I go to bed at this time. So now your body's circadian rhythms can get into a rhythm and a pattern, and it's like, even on Saturday and Sunday, early getting up at the same time. We hate it at the house. We fucking hate it. But it has to happen. Our alarm is set for 3:30 every day, every morning. Now, our goal and our issue is getting to bed before 11:30, 12. You know what I'm saying? I've been kind of giving up on my wife in life some days at night. I'm like, I can't fuck with you. And I'm going to bed. Like, yo, we doing some shit. And y'all be getting to bed at 12, 12:30. Like, Dollars be going to bed at 12, 12:30 some days, yo. And then gets up at 3:30, 4, and moves around. And like, yeah, that's impressive, but it's not beneficial, right? We really need to do better. If we're talking better, we need to do better as well. So that's my goal, and that was one of my goals for this year, was to just stay on a routine and stay occupied with what I'm supposed to be doing within that. Okay, you got any questions? No? If you don't, you don't. Just keep asking.
Whatever.
Ooh, let me hear it.
You took like I don't know if I can't remember, but touching on like the subject of calories, do you think it's important? Should we track them? Not really track them? Is it that important? Or if we are like staying in a deficit, how deep of a deficit would you recommend for like a regular person?
Yeah, so calories, I base calories more so around macros than micros, right? So I'd rather tell you this is how many grams of protein, fat, and carbs I want you to have, and let's see where the macros come from. So let's see where the calorie count comes from there. So once I add in giving you 160 grams of protein and 125 grams of carbs, we times both of those numbers by 4, see what that number is, and I'll see exactly how much fat I want you to come into the game with, times that by 9. Now I got this whole number over on the side that I add up. That's your calories, right? So now I'd rather go there. That's more specific and say, let's you go ahead and have, let's say you go ahead and have 1,900 calories this week. Okay, you have 1,900 calories, you might be like, shit, I'm gonna go ahead and have 200 grams of carbs today, only 125 grams of protein, and 75 to 80 grams of fat, and that's how I wanna do it. I can get a little bit more technical and give you percentages, but I don't like giving macros out. Me and Mo talked about that last night. Like, I'm not big on just giving you macros unless you're somebody who's skilled and understands when to disperse your macros. When we talk macros, again, that's proteins, fats, and carbs. And if you understand, like, I'm very active in my morning. We talked about this again last night. I'm very active in my morning, so I can allocate a lot of carbs for myself during the morning, during my whole morning. Like from 4 a.m. until 1 p.m., I am actively doing something, either coaching somebody, standing up, doing a demo, carrying kettlebell, bench, whatever. I am, and plus my actual workout as well. I need the calories. I need them. Whereas, like, if you're going to your job, if you say you don't come and train with me at 5, you come and train at 6:30 p.m. instead of that, right? And you're like, I get up, I get on the computer, I sit there. Oh, well, we're going to disperse your carbs a little bit differently. So it's not going to be easy for me to just say you have 30 grams or 100 and some grams of proteins, fats, and carbs, and then you're allocating them fucked up, and then you're like, Trey, I'm not losing any weight. Well, you're putting all your carbs in the morning, and I didn't tell, like, I don't want you to do that because you're not active at all, so you're not burning any of them. You know, you're storing some shit that you might not even burn off in the evening because you might only be burning 300 calories, but you ate over 400 grams of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just really trying to be as pinpoint and specific as possible. That's how I like to coach. There are some people that are under different theories, right? They're under different methods, but I know that theory of what I'm having is scientifically based. It's not just out of the sky that I'm pulling it. It's like, where are you at? Now, we looked at something the other night, it's like, carbohydrates cause fatigue into some people, and it may cause you to get sleepy, so do I afford to give them to you in the morning? But then that's what I'm saying, like, I'm not going to give them to you in the morning if you're not uber active. Because they're going to start settling in a lot of layers of fatigue and tiredness, and if you're not up and moving and burning that calorie and causing that insulin sensitivity to occur so your body can receive it, shuttle it to the muscles that it needs to, and use it as an energy source properly. You know what I mean? So like that's where we try to see what's your day looking like. Somebody like Sam who's up and down on her schedule, that's like even sometimes more personal, where we would have to really dive in and be like, okay, well, you work 2 days on, 3 days on, and then you're going to be off for a day or two, and you might be working nights one week and then days the next week. So like somebody like her, we would have to really swing that pendulum a lot and really try to see how she can be a lot more effective with that plus sleep. But no, not so much calories. And then what was the second part of your question?
I think it was if you were going to say yes to calories, like how deep it was.
Oh, how deep? So
That's if you're counting like that.
But I still am. Like, I'm still gonna count once I get there. I'm gonna be like, all right, how much do I want this person to lose though? So then I do have to watch the calories because 3,500 calories is equated to 1 pound of fat. 1 pound of fat is said to be 3,500 calories, right? If I pull 500 calories a day from you for 7 days, it's 7 times 5, 35. So I pulled 500 calories over 7 days. I took my 1 pound of fat for the entire week from you, right? I pulled away calories, so I restricted you of 500 calories, 3,500 calories. I restricted that 500 every day. So now we should be able to lose a pound of fat a week. Anything over 1.5 pounds of fat is aggressive as shit. Depending on where you are in size, like, Nitra, how much you weigh right now? Mo, how much you weigh right now?
Like 150.
146, 150, right? Say I'm trying to get them to lose another 20 pounds. Now we got to see how fast I want them to lose the weight. Like, what's our time frame? So give me a time frame. Let's say 6 weeks. 6 weeks to lose 20 pounds. So we're going to do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. We might have to lose about 4 pounds a week. That's aggressive. That's aggressive, and depending on where their revised TDE, so their total daily energy expenditure is, so how many calories do they burn between their workout and just chilling? Just be based on science and like how many calories do I burn at rest plus my daily activity as far as working out. Say they both burn around, I think really off the top of my head, they both burn around 19 to 2,300 calories, right? Plus their revised TDE, they're probably up to 2,800 calories. So 2,800 calories, both of them burn. My goal is to not really get anybody underneath 12 or 1,100 calories in a major caloric deficit. So I can afford to pull 500 calories away from both of them. That's going to get them both. If they're at 2,700 that they burn throughout their day, I pull 5, now they're at 2,200 calories. Say I want to get super aggressive, I could pull another 5. Now they're going to be at 1,600 calories. I could live with that. If I really wanted to get crazy, I might pull another 200 or 300 to get them down to the 12, and then they're going to smack that. Now I got 3 pounds a week that they're going to lose. You see what I'm saying? See, I just broke that down. Like, all right, I did the first 5 to get them down a pound a week. I did another 5 to get them down 2 pounds a week. I did another 5 to get them down. But like now you got to know how to implement that. And that's where like me and her were going through certain things during her first prep. She sees me maybe cheat on a week and things like that, and things that she can, but she doesn't know how many calories I was already pulling from. Like maybe I already pulled 600 from myself. So I was living through that additional 100, and I can afford to do that. Where I might be on point with her meal plan, so like she's thinking she can cheat the same way I can, but no. Like I overestimated myself on the front end. I gave myself an additional 100 to 200 calories to be able to shake, rattle, and roll if I wanted to add something else to my situation. And we have different lean muscle tissue. I'm going to burn more calories every time we come and work out, so you can't afford that because now we start adding in how much calories give energy. If I'm giving you 200 calories right before you work out, 200 calories worth of just carbohydrates because you're doing your post-workout shake or you're doing an intra or pre. That 200 times 4 is what? 800 calories that you're going to get from it. You might not burn 800 calories during your workout. So now you did that, plus you cheated. Now you're on a solid track. Shit, I think even if you lose 1.5 pounds, and I tell you you're going to lose 3, we bubbling. We might have had a little bit of retention that week on some reason, but we're still losing and we're in the right path. Right? So that's how I feel on that one. What else? Anything else?
I have a quick question. So I want to know if my nutrition could have changed this or if that was just what it is. So I remember a long time ago when I was in 6 week, the last week when I was supposed to weigh out, I was hitting the numbers all the way till last week, and then I missed it by like point something. But that week I was on my cycle, and I don't know if that made a difference or if I should have if that made a difference, should I have tightened up with nutrition?
That's a rough one though, right there.
Could that have made a difference? Or it's just what it is kind of thing?
I mean, you telling me that you're on your cycle, anything can float on that one. Like,
No. I mean, like, if you are on your cycle and your hormones go like
on
this.
your cycle, that's what I'm saying. So, like, to say tightening up on your diet was going to cause that to change. I I don't know that cycle could have been, you could have been losing something that's not being receptive, or you could be retaining a lot that week, fluid buildup. Like I can't even vouch on that one because of you're going through a crazy hormonal switch right there at that time in life. I feel like some women might gain almost 8 pounds sometimes of fluid retention, or just build
So
up.
like with fluid retention, since we, like if say with fluid retention, your nutrition, like if we drink more water or something, like when it has
Retain more water in that
just
moment.
keep
Yeah,
retaining
like
all.
I mean, so with water, right? I just mainly drink when you're thirsty, right? If you're thirsty, drink water. Not, it's hard to give people how much, like people are like, oh, so how much water should I get? I'm on the safe side. On the safe side, I always just err on drink half of your body weight in ounces, right? Like if I weigh 180 pounds, I'm gonna drink about 80 ounces, 80 ounces, 75, 80 ounces of water a day on the bare minimum. Now, if I'm training hard as shit, we're in Florida, I'm sweating my life away, maybe I can afford to drink 100, maybe an additional 25. If I'm truly training a little bit more than that. But what we need to watch in that same light is flushing out too many minerals, our electrolytes, right? If we're drinking so much water, whenever we start eating clean, we lose sodium. We clean up our diet, we start eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, we lose a lot of sodium. Sodium's gonna help with activity and function of life, daily function, right? So we have to start sprinkling some salt on our food. We're not sodium resistant, having hypertension, having high blood pressure, things like that, then we should definitely be trying to get in some salt in all of our meals. Not crazy, not aggressive, but just light sprinkles of salt. Most people start to fatigue and die out around 2 or 3 o'clock, and I promise you, 9 times out of 10, you're sodium deficient, your body's not clicking, that those spark plugs in your body aren't hitting as much because we're electrolyte deficient, and we need to up it. And I'm telling you, once you start eating healthier and cleaner, you have to up your sodium intake unless you have a health risk or a health issue that's going to cause you not to be able to receive it, break it down, and use it. But outside of that, sodium is a good thing. Don't be scared of it. I sprinkle it in my water. I use it in our post-workout drink. I sprinkle it all on my food. You guys always see salt out for me. Iodized salt at that. Iodine is going to help with thyroid issues. So not eliminating iodine and iodized salt. I know we've gotten into that thought process too. Like everything has to be pink Himalayan or sea salt and all of that. But like iodine is not bad. Iodized salt is pretty solid for you. They started implementing iodized salt because back in the day people were getting goiters, and now that was helping with reducing the goiter effect. So we can still use some salt with iodine in it. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for just pulling up. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, I'm here. Ask some more. I wanted to try to make that more question based. So.
I got a question. I don't know if it's team right, but just with nutrition, like if somebody is on their cycle, like if when they were pregnant, you have to adjust kind of just because of that. Like if you're on your cycle and you're training as you are and you have your eating clean, besides being aware of like your cravings and stuff like that, if you stick to whatever you're eating, is there anything else that you should be aware of? Like I don't know if you're iron because you're bleeding, or if you should eat more dark leafy greens, or is there anything you would suggest that you be aware of that could impact, generally speaking, without health issues?
What's up, you go for it. You're a woman on that one. I don't want to give too much.
It depends on the person. It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
It's by the time you're on the week, it's not really.
It's too late.
On the week, it's what you do before. So when you know yours is coming, if you know you're somebody who swells, if you know you have a little bit of fluid retention, that is when you need to pay attention to salt intake and water intake. If you think you swell often, we can pull back a little bit of salt, just a little bit, so that by the time you're on the week, you don't have that type of swelling. Because if that will start, that helps you with not feeling so fatigued. Because when you are so salt heavy rolling into the week, and you need that salt. But if you know you swell, right? You know there's a problem and we're trying to mitigate like retention. You want to pull back just a little bit, floating into the week, just as you did before, so you don't swell, and then you have the level of energy that you need. But you also don't need to pull back like potassium. You need to make sure that you have it, because that's what's going to keep you cramps away. It's going to keep you feeling like you are strong during the week.
And just watching foods that are
And fatty foods just don't. As you roll into it, pull any fatty foods like away. But on the week of, that's when you need to pump them up. If you feel like you usually have issues, fatty foods on the week, like once it's on, that is when you can take your most amount of food. It'll help you be the strongest during that time. And then as soon as you're on the down, start pulling it back away.
Because you're missing out on so much when you lose it. So to try to sustain yourself, but yeah, try not to go into it.
I think women too are not drinking anemic.
No, they are not.
No.
Some of us are.
Some.
Yeah, people in general, but not
You
just
check
women.
your level, like people in general, but for us, because we're not cycling consistently every month, we have a potential to be anemic. So that's something you can look at when you're a physician and decide if you need to take an iron again.
Cool team. Thank you again. I hope I answered a lot of or some of your questions. We're gonna try to keep having some more of these kind of sit and talks, and hopefully you guys bring a plethora of questions that I can have for you. Just take over from this time on. Until we have the next one, if you have a question in your head, just write it down. You know what to ask me during your training time or any time that you're here. Even if you do, just write it down so that we can present it here, and whoever's watching or whoever's in this circle could possibly have that question and may have forgotten it or something like that. But let's really practice our sleep habits this week, though. Let's hold each other accountable. But thank you for showing up, man.
Oh, I should have asked you my question. You know, since I don't finish my exercise here in the morning, and then I get up for at 8 o'clock, and then sleeping, and then I work out till like 10. That's when I'm supposed to be sleeping. Because I wake up at 4:30 the next day. So should I
Cut your workout out?
Figure out your schedule. You gotta figure out your schedule. Like,
we can now. You want me to knock on my patient? They're gonna call. Like sometimes I'm thinking about it.
No, honestly, I would, if I was
But we
you,
don't get them. We get the crazy
if I
ones.
was you, I would just be a little bit more effective and optimize my time of training. Like I would get here, not fuck around, be in my own zone. I'm here with everybody. I get the energy from everybody, but I'm not fucking with everybody. So I'm gonna get as much as I can get done here, so that if I don't get to finish, maybe I only have 30 minutes left in the evening, as opposed to having damn near the entirety of the workout. So it's really about getting in here at 5 on the button, be already warmed up for the next 10 minutes, and then be ready to knock it out all of your shit for the next 45 minutes, so that you can get out of here at 6:50 or 5:50 and still have, you know, a good one. And now you only have 30 minutes left of your training cycle, but like you can't come in here and like slow folk around. I'm not knocking you, like I get it, it'd be an energy vibe where you're just taking your time with everybody else, but they have the time. They have the time. So that walk that we do around there, maybe you just need to jog down and back a couple times, come in here, hop on an elliptical as soon as you get in here, and like get fucking buzzing. And optimize your time effectively, so that in the evening it's not taking you from 8 o'clock that you got off until 10 p.m. But if I was still you, I would still train from my 8 to 10 and just deal with it, because I need to train as well.
you gotta start before us. Period. No, you gotta get it done, man. You gotta start
I
before
be
us.
coming sometimes. I come here.
Sometimes she get here
She get
early,
it.
but still when you in here, you're moving at a
gotta
leisure
get it
pace.
done.
You moving at a me and Liz
Yeah,
pace,
yeah.
and Liz got till 7:30 to rock and roll.
You
That's
gotta
what
go.
you do. Like you don't. Like I get it. I can't beeline sometimes the way that they do. That's why I be like, y'all did that already? Like y'all warmed up already? I'm like, whoa, that's a fast ass fucking warm up. But like they be buzzing some days too, and you just gotta get a little bit. Like I said, I take my time during my warm ups, man. I can't. We be like we just was talking to her. I'm like, it take about 25 minutes for me to warm up. Mo used to get pissed at me when we get CrossFit. I take 45 minutes to warm up.
Mo like, I gotta get out
Mo
of
like
here.
I gotta
Mo like,
get out of here.
I
I
gotta
can't take it.
I gotta go.
Are we
it's
done
really
yet?
hard, but it is what it is. That's just me. I can't really rush it, but you have to. You You
All
have
right,
to. You have
I
to know
got
how to condition yourself well in that short burst of time. You gotta be effective in everything. Cool. But we still gonna get that training. I mean, that's training. That's the training.
I'm trying to cut something.
That's fine. Listen, listen, we about to erase week 6. You guys crushed week 6. It's done and dusted. Going into week 7 and going forward. Honestly, your food don't really change that much right now, man. See, like this right here, right? So look at this, right?
I'm gonna try what Madam Anitra said. As opposed to doing every 4 hours.
She waiting too long.
I should eat every.
It's almost a 6-hour gap in one of the meals. Like you will never get there like that.
Like we already on the blocks. Like you're supposed to eat every 2-3 hours.
You'll never make it.
And if you eat it every 2 hours, if you eat on the 2 hours, then you can take longer while you're eating and don't have to rush it. Instead of waiting 4 hours, now you have to try to eat all of it. But if you ate 2 hours, you could maybe take 45 minutes to eat one of the meals, and then you get another hour and 15 minutes before you need to eat a small portion of the next one, and then just keep gradually going into it. If you can't stomach eating all of it, it's hard to get down more than 4 ounces of protein. If you're eating over 4 ounces of protein, it's a fucking struggle. It is not an easy task to eat it on anybody. Like me, I don't think anybody that's under 200 pounds can easily eat 4 ounces. I mean, more than 4 ounces of any type of protein source. A healthy protein source. I'm going to be like, oh, I eat more. I eat 6-7 ounces. That you a fucking liar. You're a liar. If you're under 200 pounds, you are lying to me that you can eat 4 ounces easily. Like 5 ounces. What did I say to you last time? I was like, stop fucking giving me 5 ounces of food. Don't give me 5 ounces at one go. Like, don't give me 5 ounces right now in my morning breakfast. I'm not ready for it. I don't feel like taking that time. So with her, I'm like, I'm gonna need to eat it a little bit later. Or she'll come in here, my eggs will still be up. I might take an hour and 15 minutes to eat my breakfast.
It's only a few things you can probably
Like
get
honestly,
down.
I can.
More fattier foods, but like salmon, 5 ounces of salmon, it's big. It's a lot.
2.5.
It's a
I might
fucking lot.
eat 3 in the first go.
Nothing's worse than chicken
I
though.
like to sit there and like just get it a little bit
Keep
more time.
going.
Chicken is a
Turkey
lot.
is probably the only
Chicken
thing
in
that I think
eggs?
most people could
I can't
maybe
do
get
turkey
by.
like that.
The chicken is always like choking.
Turkey is the worst one for me. Salmon is actually the easiest one.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, it's
Like I
for
can
me.
bust down on 6 ounces of
Yeah.
Oh
salmon.
God, I would throw up.
6 ounces of
Eat it.
salmon. I'm
The
like,
dumb beef,
Yeah.
I can.
But
I like
chicken
the steak,
chicken
but
and
the
eggs.
ounces of chicken or 6 ounces of up and ground turkey. I'm like, well, he's
I can do
gonna hurt you. Or ground beef.
When we pass 4.5,
Oh.
I just told her
A
this,
burger's
past 4.5,
fine.
You could just cut it. Stop.
A patty's better.
Yeah, like,
burger
you can't even
patty.
down that with everything else.
A burger patty makes it a lot easier, but when she was grounded, like during my last, I was like, well, don't make me any more ground beef.
Yeah,
Don't make
yeah.
me a thing of ground beef. You
Hard
better
when you
make
look
it
at
a
that.
patty because I'm sitting here
You
and
can't
now,
see
now
it.
I have a
Right.
half
It's
of
like
rice.
it's still there. It's still there. You're still looking at it.
Like you never ending meal.
Never ending.
I'm like,
You still eating it. It's like it doesn't like it's going
and
anywhere.
like,
Yeah?
yes,
It doesn't
it's
The
like
more you
that.
eat it, the more
It's like
you
where
see
it's
it
not
now,
moving.
yeah?
It's like a
It's
sea
not
of ants.
compact.
Like, just
Yeah.
too much. Like, it's going nowhere, man. I'm not.
Yeah, the more you eat,
Yeah, it gets you depressed. You're like, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's still there.
one thing
Still
I do
there.
want to say though that me and Liz talked about beforehand. What did you say? Was that one thing that I said to you?
He was just kind of telling me how like you build experiences around the food you enjoy. So if you're like enjoying bad things, your body's gonna associate, and that makes a difference with how you feel about what you're eating. And I've seen it after you said that. I took notice of it. Like I wasn't enjoying the foods I was enjoying before as much, and I didn't get the same satisfaction. Now eating better makes me feel better, and I can assimilate those feelings.
So like one thing that I'm gonna get you Dallas. What I was saying in that context was like, right now would be like, yo, let's go have a pizza night, or let's come over and let's have taco night. And like now we associate those kind of foods with happy, fun times with friends. So now, of course, I want to go have fucking pizza. I don't even think of it as anything bad. But like, if you could reevaluate and reassociate healthier foods with those, you know, like let's come over and have tuna bites, or let's come over and have anything else that's a super healthier meal, and you can associate it with a fun time, then it becomes a little easier. Like we were trying to do the Friday night lights here and would have a movie and try to have healthier snacks, just so like it creates a space and an energy that like every time I go out and enjoy a time with my friends, it doesn't have to be a scene that's causing me to be outside of my comfort zone, which is me staying on track. I don't have to go out and eat something that's super shitty that's gonna set me back, and now I'm like, damn, I gotta go to the gym right afterwards to try to balance this out. Like, it was just an even flow and an easy go. Like, so that's what I mean. If you guys can just try to start doing little small things like that of just reassociating your fun foods with better options, and I think that will manifest something a lot better. What was you gonna say, Alice?
That's why I like to change up the spice or why I cook on the grill. So like recently and now I've done Greek chicken just to give me a different flavor because I know I like the Mediterranean taste. Like I like Slovakia, so I can't have all of that. But I can have like the garlic, let it marinate. Like do the jerk chicken, just to give a different flavor of chicken.
In that space too, and that's where sometimes I think I get super boring and mundane with.
Oh yeah, he doesn't care.
I don't care.
I gotta make it.
No, I'm with you, Mo.
Like I need something different.
Every time.
I get it, and it's dope. Like for me, I'm just like I don't have time to be seasoned. I don't even want to think about
Well,
how to eat. Like
seasoning, like give me anything, let it marinate. That's disgusting.
Like one time I had her boil, like blend up, like what, like
chicken.
5 ounces of chicken. I was like, just blend it, man.
It was disgusting. Like I would never. That's why I make burger patties because it's like a burger on the grill, way better.
Is it okay to season it with adobo instead of salt, or what do you recommend?
Pops, I mean it depends. So like let's think about it on two scenarios. On one scenario was, one, do you have any health concerns that are going to cause you to not really be able to have adobo? Like it's a very high sodium spice. It has a lot of sodium, and I know I'm telling you get some sodium in, but shit, it's a lot of it in there. It's a lot of other ingredients that we don't even really know what's in them sometimes. So I know the salt is condensing. It's salt. It's iodized salt. Adobo. On my secondary situation, I'm like, you're not trying to get on stage. You're just trying to have your food be decent. Use it sparingly. Go for it. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's keeping you on the script of like what you're supposed to be eating. Don't overdo it to where your body has to fight off all of the bad shit before it can even grasp the nutrients of what you're supposed to be eating. Then I say go for it. Just use it very sparingly and don't load yourself up with too much of it. Watch your hands, watch your feet, see how swollen you are, see how you feel. And you just gotta watch your water intake with that, with any type of high levels of sodium, because water's going what? Salt. We know what water and salt do.
Anywhere salt goes, water follows.
Wherever salt goes, water's gonna follow. So just know that scale may go up because the water's following and it's gonna be retained.
There's so many different types of adobos though.
Yeah.
There's so many you could choose. You get ones, not a try, because they're there. You get ones that don't have other shit in them. Spices that you recognize. If it's any ingredients that you do not recognize, don't get that one. Or make your own. Like mix them yourself and you're done. Like you'll have it all.
What's the other one? What's the
There's so many. There's Flavor God. There's Flavor God. There's Miss Flavor. There's Mrs. Dash. But straight adobo, I would tell you just mix your own. And you can get
all of the spices that you see in there, make it exactly how you would want.
And add your own salt.
Make your own bag of it, right? Get all of the spices that you enjoy from it, that you can read. Get all of them, put it into a nice little baggie. Cut some holes in that, shake it up whenever you're ready to go ahead and do it, or just replace it. Dump out those, or have an older double one, put all of the spices in there and make your own. That was one thing I did enjoy while we were raising Legend, is Mo was making like all of her own apple, like spiced apples. She would just throw them in the oven for her. She was making all of our own food for Legend, so that was kind of dope to watch and like not have to really worry about it. And just try to keep him away from any type of fast food for at least the first year. Like I just wanted him to love sweet potatoes, love
He hates
apples,
them.
love all of the blueberry
He hates them now.
What, sweet potatoes?
Yes, he won't even like touch it.
Somebody done float around. That's why I be like,
That's all he ate though. He had sweet potatoes like breakfast,
Yeah,
lunch,
he
and
had sweet
dinner.
potatoes, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I get why he made
Now
it.
he's like, I don't want anything orange. He won't take it. I do. He sees orange. And he's like, no.
He don't like orange?
He like-
Really?
I think he just.
I was so happy that he like. I hate sweet potatoes. I eat them.
That's all. I'm telling you, that's all he
I
ate.
dislike them. I'm not like a fan.
That's all he ate.
That's all he ate. So I was like, oh my gosh, he loves sweet potatoes. Let's keep just giving him sweet potatoes, and now he's not the biggest fan of sweet
Guess what he likes? He likes salmon.
Oh, love salmon.
Yeah,
Give me
really?
salmon all day.
Really?
All day.
All day.
Wow.
Coming back for more salmon.
Wow,
That's crazy.
Love
Crazy.
salmon, though. Love salmon over everything else.
That's unusual.
So that's pretty dope. Yeah, I didn't eat fish as a kid. I didn't even start eating fish until I was about 14.
How you doing?
And it was salmon. But that was it. You ate fish as a kid? No, man, I ain't doing it. No. Well, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I hope y'all
Thank
got
you.
some information you can take back home. But, bless y'all.
Thanks for sharing.
What you say?
You know y'all cheap. You know it.
What y'all be putting on this potato? I don't know how to
What you
Cinnamon and cinnamon.
Look, so when I do two
What do
kinds,
you
two
do?
different kinds. It depends on what I want. Do I want them to taste sweet or do I want them to taste savory?
I always want mine sweet. That's why.
So the savory sweet potatoes, I season them just like
What do you
like
put?
meat, almost like full seasoning plus like some type of rosemary or some type of.
Oh, I do like 'em